Good morning, good morning. I want to first welcome our council members who are here, Vice Mayor Steve Kay and Susan Lamb and Joe Smith and James Brown, and you're going to hear more from James in just a minute. Well, good morning, everyone, and what a perfect place to talk about the Week of Valor. As many of you know, Charles Young, for whom this center is named, was born into slavery in Mays Lick, Kentucky in 1864. His family was freed after his father escaped to Ohio and joined the United States Colored Troops, which it was known as then. Charles Young was accepted into West Point and graduated in 1889, the third African American to do so. In 2016, this center honoring him was placed on the National Register of Historic Places. So today we are here to talk about the Week of Valor. And thanks to Councilmember James Brown, Reverend Jim Thurman, and everyone here today who has worked together to make our celebration of Veterans Day really special this year, our hope is that we can make this a new tradition. Now, I want to start with Councilmember James Brown, 1st District Councilmember James Brown. Now, I always get in trouble when I say anybody's doing such an extraordinary job, because everybody does a great job, but this fella does do an extraordinary job. So join me in welcoming Councilmember James Brown, who has been a big inspiration and visionary and leader in this initiative, the Week of Valor. James Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning. I'm 1st District Councilman James Brown, and it's an honor for me to be here in the East End neighborhood in downtown Lexington at the historic Charles Young Center as we kick off Lexington's first Week of Valor. This is going to be an exciting week of events that pay homage and celebrate our veterans, from marathons to monument dedications to films and to one of my favorite events, the Veterans Park Memorial Service hosted by Councilmember Lamb. In addition to the Week of Valor, I would like to personally thank, and I think I can speak for my other council members, Councilmember Maloney, Councilmember Lamb, and Councilmember Bledsoe. It has truly been an honor to work with the group of veterans over the past few months as we have identified ways that we as a city could better partner with veterans and veteran service organizations. We've discussed the reintroduction of the Veteran Parade, thanks to Commissioner Baston and Lori Houlihan. We also introduced the idea of creating Lexington's first Commission of Veteran Affairs. So thank you, Mayor, for supporting that initiative. And this focused effort has led to Lexington attracting the Kentucky's Veteran Hall of Fame, which will be hosting their prestigious 2-day event this September 2018 in Lexington. Councilmember Richard Maloney stated about 2 years ago that we as a community needed to do more to recognize and celebrate our veterans. And 2 years later, I think we are doing better. But I think this is just a start. I think we can do more, and I think we will do more because we have a committed mayor and council that are willing to champion our veterans. So thank you for joining us today, and thank all our veterans for their service. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Brown. And now I want to ask Phyllis Abbott with the Veterans Resources United of Central and Southeastern Kentucky to tell us more about recognition that's coming at the UK football game, the Women's Appreciation Dinner, and military mission. Phyllis?
I want to thank Mayor Gray and the City Council for supporting Veterans Resources United of Central Southeastern Kentucky, or as we call it, VRUC for short because that's a very long title. In bringing the Week of Valor to Lexington, today is made possible because of the men and women who have fought and defended our freedom so that we can have the privilege to come together today to honor our veterans. VRUC was formed in 2016 to bring together veteran organizations that support veterans and individuals that support veterans to bridge the gap for veterans between their resources and them. To this, we have gathered together a group of organizations here in Lexington and Central Kentucky where we will be serving the 43 counties served by the VA. Our local VA has been very instrumental in supporting our efforts, as well as Kentucky Department of Veterans Affairs and other governmental agencies. During the Week of Valor, there will be one or more events every day to honor our veterans, with the exception of Monday. At the present time, we have over 30 organizations participating in the organization, and afterwards, Reverend Jim Thurman, Ryan, and Patrick Sinclair and I will be available to answer any questions you may have about VRUC, because we'd like to invite more people to be a part of us as we grow and bring more services for our veterans. The first event will be November the 4th, which will be a UK football game with Ole Miss. And it will be a time when the university will be recognizing our veterans who have served our country. So this is an opportunity for you to come to a football game and support our UK and also our veterans. Then on November the 8th, BCTC will be hosting a chili cook-off to raise money for the VA. Also on November the 8th at the National Guard Armory, military missions will be preparing packages to send to our military serving overseas for Christmas. Volunteers are needed, so please come for that. Then on November the 8th will be a special night of honoring our women veterans who have served our country. Lady Veterans Connect, City Council, and Kentucky Department of Veteran Affairs will be sponsored a very special event to honor our veterans. Guest speakers will be Lieutenant Governor Hampton and Carolyn Ferdig, who served in two events over, I'm saying it wrong, will be our guest speakers. And then November the 10th, the Senior Citizen Centers is hosting a breakfast for veterans. And Pat Ryan will now share more about our other events.
Thank you, Phyllis. Thank you, Mayor, Councilman Brown. It's been, like Councilman Brown said, a very interesting several months here getting all this going. And all of a sudden, bam, it's here. And we're getting it started. I have a few events I wanted to talk about here. On November 5th, at the Leestown VA campus, there's going to be what we call the VA 5K run. It's going to be run right there on the Leestown VA campus, and it's going to be a fundraiser for the Fisher House. And you may hear more about the Fisher House a little bit later on from Patrick Sinclair, I believe. But we've been working, our Lions Club and others folks have been working with Susan Murray, especially for Columbia Gas, the NiSource group out there, Kim Hammer and Jim Kammer with the Division of Community Corrections. Had to get their right name in there. And they want to make sure that people know that race day registrations are still going to be accepted at Columbia Gas up until like 10 o'clock on race day, November 5th. On November 7th, there will be at the, hard to say, Kroger Field. Hard to get that one out. But Operation Wildcat is going to be out there. It's going to be a very interesting thing. I've never seen it, heard about it, but it seems to be a thing around the country. They call it part Amazing Race, part CrossFit Games, part Outward Bound. Operation Wildcat's goal is to build community through activity. It's open to military veterans, civilians of all ages, athletic abilities. Basically, you get a team together, you come through a number of different events right there on Kroger Field. And, you know, I wouldn't mind being out there playing around a little bit. Ought to be a good time, and that is on the evening of November the 7th. Starts at 7 o'clock, ought to go a few hours. The last thing I want to talk about is the November 10th, Friday. We're calling that a roadmap to employment. Our Lions Club's going to help host that at the Bluegrass Fairgrounds out in Masterson Station. In our Lions Club Pavilion, we'll have a panel discussion. A number of area employers, hiring people, recruiters and so on will be there to answer questions from folks who want to show up and ask questions. We'll have some display tables and things like that in the back also. We're going to feed them hot dogs. So starting about 5:30, come on out. The program will start at 6, and we ought to be done by 8:30, 9 o'clock probably. There's a good chance for our veterans that are returning from overseas or returning into the workforce to get some really good pointers and ideas about what people here can do to help them be gainfully employed. That's my part of the show.
All right. Thanks, Phyllis and Pat. And I'm going to go off script here for just a minute. We're running well on time. And wish a happy birthday to Marilyn Dishman, our citizens advocate of extraordinary service to our citizens. Yes, ma'am. And before I introduce Jim Thurman, I'm going to tell a little bit of story myself about my attachment to veterans. Like so many of you, my mother and father both served in the U.S. Navy in World War II. And I did not serve as a veteran. I did not serve, but I was persuaded by my father between the years of 4 and 7 that I did serve in the U.S. Navy with him, and that I was in the Pacific with him on a PT boat. I believed this so much that I would tell stories to everybody, my friends. And one day I was telling the story about my service with one of my father's friends, and he looked over at me and says, "Why, Jimmy," he said, "you could not have served with your daddy. You weren't even born." Well, it registered to me. And it was like him telling me there was no Santa Claus. Fortunately, I did recover and overcame it. But like so many of you, we all have attachments to our veterans and respect and appreciation for their service. Our next speaker is Jim Thurman. Everybody knows Reverend Jim Thurman, with the National Association for Black Veterans and Veterans Resources. And Jim is going to tell us about a monument dedication at Cove Haven Cemetery, a documentary at the Lyric as well, and a special event at Kentucky State. Reverend Jim.
Thank you, Mayor Gray. It's quite an honor to be here today and to be a part of this Week of Valor. I know I was Kentucky's first Veteran of the Year and being inducted into the Kentucky Veterans Hall of Fame. And each time I was recognized, I had to go outside of Lexington. So I talked to Mayor Gray and several city commissioners and brought the idea about bringing the parade and the Week of Valor back, and they jumped right on it. So kudos to the city, City Council, and Mayor Gray. The first event I want to talk about is the Veterans of Color film that will be shown at the Lyric on November the 9th at 6:30. It is a free viewing. Also on that same day, at Frankfort at Kentucky State University in Bradford Hall at 11 o'clock that morning, they will be honoring veterans as well as conducting a Veterans Forum. On November the 10th, I want to thank the City of Lexington, the Kentucky Department of Veterans Affairs, and my NevVet crew here with me. We have put together a monument out at the Cove Haven Cemetery to honor the nearly 500 African American men and women who are buried there, going all the way back to the Civil War and the Spanish-American War. If you're so inclined, that morning at 11 o'clock, that Friday morning, please come out and join us. Finally, the parade, that's the biggie. That's the biggie. I think of the Macy's parade. Now we can think about the Lexington Veterans Day Parade because it's going to be just as big and just as famous. So at 1 o'clock, we will have a program prior to kicking off the parade, which starts at 2. So join us that day, November the 11th, 1 o'clock in front of the Robert F. Stevens Courthouse, and come and join us and celebrate the veterans. Thank you very much.
Jim, thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Major Jim Kammer, are you going to speak about the 5K run? I've got you down here. Come on up here and tell us a little bit about it. Now, this Major's from our Division of Community Corrections, and they are co-sponsors of the 5K run.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Just real quick, just the Division of Community Corrections and Columbia Gas got together to put on this run. This is the second year of the event. Like Pat said, registration starts at 10 o'clock at Columbia Gas. We actually shuttle people over on the jail bus to the VA campus. So, you know, we got veterans serving overseas right now, or service members serving overseas right now. They're going to need the services at some point in time. And when we get this Fisher House built on the campus, you know, we got to start somewhere so that every dollar counts. So come on out. All we're asking is, you know, walk, run. For 3.1 miles, the service members overseas are doing a lot more for us in our country than that. So to get out and support the event and support the building of the Fisher House, it's a great cause. And I'm proud that the Division of Community Corrections and Columbia Gas has gotten together to help put this on. So thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor.
And the Major just mentioned the Fisher House, and we've got Patrick Sinclair from the VA Medical Center here to talk more about the Fisher House.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
It's such a pleasure for me to be out here on behalf of the Department of Veterans Affairs as well as the Lexington VA Medical Center. And our director really appreciates everything that our veterans do in our community and what the community does for our veterans as well. The Fisher House is an excellent opportunity for us to partner with you all. We're going to have it out at the Leestown campus. It'll be a 16-bed facility. This will allow our veterans to come into our facility that are in need of housing or something that on an immediate basis. So if a veteran comes from Central and Eastern Kentucky, they don't have any place to stay, they can stay right there at our Fisher House on campus, and it'll be free of charge for them. So this is an excellent opportunity for us, and we really appreciate the partnership that we have with Columbia Gas as well as LFUCG and the City of Lexington to make this happen for our veterans in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now it is now time for me to thank everybody one more time, for all you have done, all the hard work for pulling together these events with a proclamation. And let me read it. This proclamation reads, Week of Valor. Whereas the Week of Valor is an opportunity for our city to pay tribute to America's sons and daughters who have answered our country's call. And whereas we recognize the sacrifice of those who have been part of the finest fighting force the world has ever known, and the loved ones who stand beside them. And whereas we will never forget the heroes who made the ultimate sacrifice, and all those who have not yet returned home. And whereas our community is proud to be home to thousands of veterans who have stepped forward to serve their country and defend our way of life, putting their lives on the line so that we might live in a country that is free. Now therefore I, Jim Gray, as Mayor of Lexington, do hereby declare November 3 through 11, 2017 as Week of Valor in Lexington. There we go. And I'm going to hand this to you. Phyllis, I'm told to present this to you.
Thank you so much. And thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you so
Appreciate it.
All right, there we go. Thanks, Phyllis. All right, that's it. Thank you all very much. Thanks, everybody.